general election, and a lot of you are saying many different things on Twitter. Edith Kimoma says, this song of concede is annoying. Let Raila help in stopping the culture of rigging. The other one here saying that your panelists are really at pains to say what they really feel like saying, that they're grieving Raila's loss. Interesting thought there. And then someone else here says, I'm going to just get another comment, but interesting, Edwin Alex Wamalo says, I'll support Raila to the end of times, whatever the circumstances. He's the man. It's not about him, but country. Crispinus Adam says, has anybody explained why it took so long for IEBC to access from 34A and 34B? And then Lydia Maitha says, Joe Agayo, you are editorializing and skewing conversation to mean the election was manipulated. What evidence do you have? Someone challenging me there. Interesting conversation. You can keep those conversations coming, and we'll try and read as many of them as we possibly can. And we'll continue with the conversation we were having, Daisy. And I want to just play some clips from some social workers we interviewed earlier today. They work in Mathare and have been experiencing different things there, but they had interesting things to say about our politics at this stage. Let's listen to them.
Sasa wewe utakubali kupiga kura baada ya kuvunjwa? Mimi hata kama ingewezekana, na hii nazungumza kama Mkenya, kama ingewezekana, hizi viti sana sana kiti ya president, tungeambiwa kwamba hakuna uchaguzi baada ule president wa kwanza akichaguliwa, wacha amalize muhula zake zote miwili. Kwa sababu kama inaweza fika mahali mimi niende nipige line asubuhi alafu nikuje nikule tear gas. Mashirima hii sauti yangu haikuangi hivi, sauti yangu inakuanga nyororo. Lakini nilikula tear gas kwa sababu ya kuokoa wenzangu. Na hiyo tear gas siku ikula kimchezo. Mpaka saizi ukiniangalia vizuri na kamlevi, lakini si ulevi kwa sababu sinywi pombe. Ni tear gas ile yenye tulipigwa pale chini. Sasa ikifika kila uchaguzi, tunapofanya uchaguzi ni kupigwa tear gas na wengine kupigwa marungu. Si tuende tu mpaka after 10 years ndio tufanye uchaguzi basi.
Njoki, unakubaliana na hilo? Kwa yes. Uchaguzi kidogo, wengine wanasema hawataki kushiriki uchaguzi. Alphonse anasema basi kusiwe na uchaguzi, iwe tunangoja miaka 10 alafu tufanye uchaguzi
wa rais.
Wa urais peke yake. Unakubaliana naye?
Okay, mimi pangu ningesema wacha tufanye uchaguzi. Na mimi ningeulizwa, tungekuwa tukichagua na hata kama US baada ya miaka chache tunachaguana, at least mtu una participate kidemokrasia. Lakini kusikue uchaguzi ndio itakuja kututenganisha. Hiyo ndio inatuma mpaka watu sasa wanahofia juu. Hata mimi kuna maliliko imefika nikasema sitapiga kura. Juu ya nini? Hakuna haja niamke asubuhi nipige kura, nikirudi nyumbani tena nifuatwe mpaka nyumbani. So ile kitu bado na feel vibaya juu nilikuwa affected to 7. And then 2013 hakukuwa na kitu yoyote. Sasa hii ni 2017 kavurugu kidogo ndio ilikuwa inataka kwenda kutokea. Unataka kuniambia nimesahau yale niliona 2007? Bado sijasahau. Kwa hivyo kuna mali tafika mpaka watu watachoka kuvote. Na baada tufike hapo kwa kuchoka kuvote, beta tu tuanze kuongea mapema.
Yeah, we need
Daisy.
This is what I was saying before we went on the break, that we need to have a conversation about the kind of system that we have. Because we have the kind of zero-sum politics where, for me to win, you must lose. And I think we must address that majoritarian system, you know, the winner-take-all, where people feel that my vote actually doesn't count. And I think when we were looking at the Constitution afresh, you know, post-election, we missed the opportunity to also redesign a more inclusive...
We have very brilliant people in this country. I mean, didn't we know that when we were designing the Constitution?
This is a conversation that
this is a Constitution we passed overwhelmingly by 2/3 almost.
But this is a conversation that has been had even at Bomas, where we were talking about proportional representation, where people vote more for parties than individuals, so that you have a system that allows for inclusivity. Because remember that what people are reacting to is that sense of exclusion from government. And while we hoped that that has been addressed via devolution, you know, where government has been brought closer to the people and you have your government at the grassroots. We have not internalized that, but we still have that zero-sum mentality that because you have won, I have lost. My vote didn't count because even though we cast so many votes for this other character, you've run away with the prize, you know. So we must look at it. We must relook at it. And I think that it's a discussion that we must have around national unity, how we bring people together, inclusivity, because remember, we're also still struggling. How do we bring the women in? How do we bring in the youth? How do we bring in the disabled? So there's still an exclusive
but at
approach.
The heart of it is the whole thing of tribe. I mean, let's face it, that there are tribal overtones. I hesitate to call them undertones because they are glaring, that there are certain communities that feel in a particular way when it comes to our politics. How do we have that honest conversation about how particular communities feel about what is going on in the country and how our politics is so entirely ethnic, and that when Daisy says one group feels they have won, the other they have lost, that those groups actually invariably are ethnic groups. Barack.
Yeah, the ethnicities will be there. They are not going anywhere. Nobody can wish them away. Nobody can take them away. And when talking about ethnicities, it also, I think, is correct to make a correction of a misapprehension out there among some of the viewers that, for example, when you engage in a dialogue of this kind, it's an either-or question. That is the problem that we are having here. We have got certain false dilemmas, certain false polarities, false dichotomies, that when you are here, you are either for Uhuru or for Raila Odinga. And that is a falsehood because there's a sense in which you can discuss these things without being caught up in those fake polarities. So the nations will be there. The question of the management of ethnic diversity will always be there. It's a question which this nation was born with. It's a congenital problem, if you want. And so what we need to do is to ask ourselves, how are we going to manage our ethnic diversity so that nobody feels like this tribe or this group of tribes has won? Because of this concern with ethnicities and the fake polarities, we are having a lot of rubbish being swept under the rug. We have got people who have been elected to this parliament to become governors and in other positions. It's just because people are thinking that they are voting for the tribe. It doesn't matter that this person here has had some very serious allegations against him, against her, that this fellow's integrity is absolutely to be questioned, but this one is ours. So we must address it. Daisy was right, I think, that we dropped the ball when we went to Naivasha. We were talking about a parliamentary system of government. And today, nobody wants to hear about that. The people who are for the parliamentary system of government got to Naivasha, and they changed their mind in 2010. And they changed their mind because somebody else came up with the proposal that, let us say, the presidential system, so that they can refuse, and therefore we do not come up with a new constitution. We agreed in 2010 that there were issues that required addressing in the future. One of the legacies that President Uhuru Kenyatta can leave behind is first to harmonize the nation, get us to learn to speak to one another as one people, one Kenyan nation, and agree that there is something that is unfinished with the Constitution, and let us look at it again so that we get away from this thing of I've taken it all, I've run away with it, you are in the cold, we are eating, and you are drooling.
Okay. That's interesting. But Dr. Witty, this is where we are. That we're saying there are people who might not even feel like they are part of the country. I mean, we've interviewed many different people, and they say, well, let them do whatever they want. And you get the sense that there's almost nothing you can tell such a person for them to really feel included. How do you even start? I mean, Barack says the president can make that part of his legacy agenda, but where do you start? I mean, there's a guy on the streets of Kisumu who is so aggrieved right now by the election results, for example. What does anyone do to make that guy feel that Kenya is working for them?
You know, this is one of our biggest challenges, and it is one of the most catastrophic failures of our independence dispensation. The failure to launch and drive Project Kenya. This started with Jomo Kenyatta and Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. They handed the baton to Mr. Moi, who then handed the baton to Mr. Kibaki and Mr. Kenyatta. The spatial inequality that we see in this country, that you have a higher density of standpipes, water pipes in one part of the country, and people who die of diarrhea and other preventable diseases in another side of the country, is written in the political history of the country, in the way that policy has been made. Mm-hmm. It bears the names of the people who have been in government consistently, and it bears those names by their ethnic origins. Let's just face it. Now, this is the biggest deceit of our time. This is the one part of ourselves that we have refused to face. That instrumentalization of ethnicity has been the basis of political competition. That Mr. Kenyatta is there courtesy of the Kalenjin vote, overwhelmingly, and of the Kikuyu vote. And Mr. Odinga is a formidable player in opposition because he has an incredibly large starting base of the Luo vote. This is the conversation that we have refused consistently to address. That my last name is an ethnic card-holding
But how do you address
identity.
that? How do you address that?
How we address
from
that,
ethnic standpoint?
how we address that is we cannot legislate this to death. There are sufficient provisions in the Constitution. When Delmas Otieno was the Minister for Public Service, we conducted an audit of the public service by ethnicity. The numbers are shameful. They are atrocious. They are painful. We recently conducted by the NCIC, an audit of public universities. 5 tribes only constitute the higher echelons of our academic institutions, the places where we're supposed to teach the principles of coexistence, where we're supposed to be planting the seeds of nationhood. These are the bastions of shameful, egregious ethnic balkanization. Now, if we don't go to these issues, we have no country. We have no country. We will have 2022, it will be an Armageddon. 2013, 2017, we might have survived. But going forward with all of these constitutional omissions and the recklessness with which we go through legislation around elections, and it's a zero-sum game, we game the lawmaking process to advantage the people who wield power at that time. Mr. Ruto, if he is to run in 2022, cannot run with this IEBC. I can bet you my last coin on that.
Why do you say that?
He will not. He knows why.
Okay, Daisy.
I don't know why, but I will say this. I will say
we'll
this.
pull Alex aside
That
after this.
I agree completely with what Alex is saying. But the other thing is, we must also look at how it is that we govern our country and what does it mean to be Kenyan. You know, when we look at our public institutions, there's no public service. You know, there are no public services, education. You're talking about distribution of jobs, but what about opportunity? You know, the way we have crafted our state, we are not providing opportunity for all Kenyans. Look at those Kenyans who do not have sufficient resources to attend to those private schools. They are left to attend to public institutions. Our public education system, our public healthcare system. We have no public transport system. So you see, people have been left to their own devices despite the fact that we have state to whom we pay taxes, but they do not provide us with services, so that government becomes a place where people go to eat and to enrich themselves, you know? So we need to start having a conversation around what it means for this Kenyan nationhood. We have enshrined in our
So
constitution.
why would someone in Siaya feel that they would only be comfortable if Raila Odinga is president, or someone in Nyeri or somewhere else feel
One of the
good
things
that President feels secure because President Uhuru is in office?
Because if you listened, and you see that's another thing, we also forget the messaging around the campaigns. If you listened to the messaging around the campaigns targeting the predominantly Kikuyu base of Jubilee, one of the things, because they are known to be business people, business savvy, one of the things was that their businesses would be protected. The message from NASA to their people was that we're going to ensure a more inclusive government, that everybody is going to be involved. You're going to have your free secondary education, and you're going to have your free, everything. The government was just going to provide everything for free so that everybody would have an opportunity to enjoy the benefits that come with being in government. So they feel that that has been taken away from them. Let's not forget the hardships that people are dealing with. When we look at the livelihoods of people, people are having a very difficult time. And when you have a government that seems oblivious to the challenges that people are facing and are not providing the basic services, you look at the nurses. The nurses, by the way, we seem not to remember that the nurses are on strike.
Yeah.
That affects public service, public health. But it will not affect the public health of a certain elite, So there's a huge population that depends on that public service for their basic health. They don't get those services. So these are issues that we must address. We address the issues at a very superficial level. Even with this ethnic, and I like that Barack has said that it is a false belief that because you are my tribe's person and I support you, that somehow there's a trickle-down effect.
There is no
to me,
trickle-down.
there is no trickle-down effect because it's an elitist thing. Because at the top, at the very top, there is no tribalism among them. Among them, they sit together. They laugh together. Today, Raila Odinga can sit with President Uhuru and they can have tea. Yet, you and your fellow Kikuyu cannot sit together.
Actually, one of the things the lady from Madare said was that, today if I die, the president will not come for my funeral.
Absolutely
But this
not.
gentleman here will come from my funeral because I know him. We belong to the same
But the
sort of
leadership
class.
is the one
that's
that
not a
crafts.
message.
No, the leadership is the one that crafts that message, makes people believe that
It is the
message, so that on the
instrumentalization.
backs of the masses, they then continue to oppress the masses.
Okay,
But
I
then
want
the other thing I want to say is when you listen also to the remarks of how then the wielders of power handle power, the remarks that came from Aidan Duale yesterday, those are the kind of remarks that we don't need to hear in a very polarized country, where he was talking about how he's very excited that they now have the tyranny of numbers, and that it will make his work that much easier. And the first order of business is that they're going to get rid of the Auditor General. Now, you know that especially coming at a time like this, nobody is going to see that, even if there may be, and I say maybe, merit to what it is that they're doing, it will be seen as an assault
all
on a
right, I want
certain
us
tribe.
to bring this to a close. And Barack, your closing thoughts, where you see this nation going. What must we do now as a country to make sense of what Dr. Witi calls Project Kenya, for us to begin to make sense of this so that Kenya can begin to work for everybody? Make it brief.
First, very briefly, to recognize that the whole project that we call Project Kenya is a work of artifice. It's an artificial thing. That which we call Kenya, it is artificial. What is natural is Kikuyu, is Luhya, is Luo, is Kamba, and all those. And that even at independence, we had a problem, wondering how we were going to glue these things together. That just now, our biggest challenge, as Tom Mboya would say, is the challenge of nationhood. Yeah. The spirit and feeling of nationhood, the national ethos, are at their lowest ebb. And that must be President Uhuru Kenyatta's foremost assignment as he prepares to be re-inaugurated. The rest of the things, whether it's infrastructure, it's agriculture, it's education, it's health, it's finance, it's opportunities, they must gravitate within and around just one focus: Kenyan nationhood and management of ethnic diversity.
Thank you. Dr. Awiti.
You know, just following on Barack's comments, Uhuru has to do what his father failed to do. He has to accomplish what Moi just bungled and what Kibaki was extremely reckless at dealing with. That is the question of building a cohesive nation. Mr. Kenyatta must know that there is more people in this country than Luo, Luya, Kalenjin, and Kikuyu. There is other people who feel really absent in any national conversation. This country is not just about the top 4 and 5 tribes, the Kambas, the Kikuyus, Luos, Luyas, and the Luos. There is more people here. How do we start the hard work? What is the absolute most honest conversation? This will be Mr. Kenyatta's legacy. Otherwise, he has no legacy. The railway will not be his legacy. Laptops will not be a legacy because we will forget these things. There will be better technology in delivering education. Soon, the railway that he's building and he's so proud of today will be derelict like the old railway that he's now saying is a legacy of the colonial times. If he wants to leave a true legacy for this country, he has to stitch this into a nation. This must be the thing that keeps Uhuru Kenyatta awake every single day for the next 5 years. Otherwise, it will be a catastrophic failure that we will write books and books about. It will be an opportunity that has been missed for an eternity.
Daisy, you have the last word on this.
I do. Thank you. One of the things that came out very strongly in President Kenyatta's acceptance speech at the Bomas on the day that he was declared is that he extended an olive branch. And one of the things he said is that he wants to leave a legacy that will leave Kenya better off than he found it. So the onus is on him. The onus is on him to leverage. One of the things that I always say about Uhuru Kenyatta is that he has the capacity for this. He has a universal likability where he is able to reach out to different people, and he must use that to bring us together. But it's also upon us as Kenyans to understand that this is our country. Uhuru Kenyatta is president, yes, but we are citizens in this country, and we have an equal responsibility to build this country. And so while President Uhuru Kenyatta prepares himself to take, again, the oath of office and swears to uphold and to unite us and to be a symbol of unity, we then must also commit to supporting him in achieving that by making our positive contributions and pointing out the wrongs of government. And he must accept that at some point that we will point out some of the things that they're doing that are not right in a bid to correct them. But this country belongs to us all. If Kenya succeeds, it succeeds for us all. But if Kenya falls apart, it falls apart for us all. So the onus is on the president, but it is on us too. So let's come together as Kenyans and let's walk into this new chapter that has been opened by this dispensation. And I think better days ahead for Kenya.
All right, thank you very much. Daisy Mdany, Dr. Alex Awiti, Barack Muluka, my analyst for the night. And that brings us to the end of Kivumbi 2017 for tonight. Remember, our continuing coverage will pick up tomorrow morning with my colleagues at 5 a.m. looking at the different aspects of this transition, as it were. Raila Odinga says he's going to make some statement tomorrow, and we're waiting to see what that is. For now, have a lovely night. Good night. God bless. My name is Joe Ageo.
This is KTN News.